What's up, Dan? Welcome to the show, bud.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mike. Yeah, how's everything going?
Good, man. Good. Yeah, I'm here in Phuket. First thing in the morning. First item of the day. Podcast with Dan, and it looks like you're outside in your backyard at your sauna, ice bath, little banya setup that you got there.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I built the ice bath like a few months ago, and I've always been into ice baths and whatnot, but then I just got the sauna, so package is complete, and yeah, man, just taking things to the next level.
Yeah, we just got one at AKA Thailand. I've been building it. I'm not really into ice baths like you, but our guests are. So, yeah, I did it yesterday
Yeah,
just to kind of take some photos and start it and kind of get it going. But it was actually
yeah,
not bad, man. I'll be honest. Like, it's been a while since I did an ice bath, but it was actually pretty refreshing, except I was cold for a really long time after. It took a while for my body
yeah,
temperature to go down.
yeah. I had ESPN in town, and they filmed me doing an ice bath, and then I got out and I had to do an interview, and I was freezing.
Yeah, I
Like
can
I
imagine.
couldn't get my body temperature up.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's yeah. I had to did the same thing. I had to stand outside. Thailand's a lot warmer outside, and just the mild air conditioning we had inside, I couldn't
Yeah,
even like deal with it. I had to stand outside for like 30 minutes and kind of thaw out a little bit.
yeah, that's good though.
But congratulations on your last victory. Great fight. I know it's been a bit, but
Thank you.
against Gavin Tucker, a previous guest on my podcast, great guy, great fighter, and it was a great fight,
Yeah,
man. It was really awesome. It was cool. That's like one of those things where it's like. You've heard people say over and over, like, don't look for the knockout, just go for it and just fight and use technique. And that was like a great example because you weren't like, overextending and going for these haymakers and going for the knockout like your next opponent, Zombie does,
yeah,
and you just laid that right hand just smooth, and that's what it takes, man. A good punch in the right spot, and it's over. And it was just like, I mean, it was done.
yeah, exactly. I mean, for the first time in my career, it's like I didn't force the knockout, and I pretty much that's all I've been working on the last 8 months. Was just like my technique and precision, and I mean, I was prepared to go for a 15-minute war because I knew how tough Gavin Tucker was, but like I just let my hands go and like not really think about it, and it happened perfectly.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great strategy for the next fight as well. I mean, you're obviously fighting Zombie coming up, who's a bit aggressive and wild and loopy. I
Yeah,
think those straight punches are going to
yeah.
do wonders for you in that fight. And how are you looking at that fight? Like how do you see him coming off that fight with Ortega, and how do you see that match going stylistically?
It's honestly, as a fan, like looking at it from the outside, like it's an awesome matchup for the fans. Um, Zombie is aggressive. He comes in pretty loopy, and he's been around for a while, man. He's been in the game forever. He's been on top, and he's definitely a fan favorite to watch. But for me, it's a perfect stylistic matchup just because of he will be there. He will be there to hit. He's not really. I wouldn't call him a runner. He's usually there, right there in the middle,
Yep.
and will stand his ground. And I think that just makes a perfect fight for me. I It's gonna be fun, man. I think I could really show off my tools. I didn't really get to show off too much in the Gavin Tucker fight, um, because I have been working a ton on my skills and my technical work, my tactical work, and I'm just excited to have 25 minutes to go out there and showcase everything I know.
Yeah, it seems like Ortega did a good job of kind of mixing it up a little bit and keeping him wondering what was happening the whole time. I mean, he was mixing it up with elbows and a lot of
Yeah,
leg kicks and body kicks and grabbing the leg and doing a lot of different things to
yeah,
kind of get his mind off of one specific thing. But Zombie's tough. I mean, he hits
right,
hard. He brings the heat. So you got to be careful with someone like that.
definitely.
Um, yeah, so I'm sure you did your homework, and it's going to be a great fight. I mean, stylistically, I'm excited as a fan. It's going to be it's going to be a good one. And
Yeah, yeah.
what is your oh, actually, first of all, what's your without giving strategy away, what's your prediction for the fight? Like what would you say is your prediction without giving away too much as far as details of your strategy?
I mean, this as a fighter, like you always have to prepare for the full amount of time. A 25-minute war for me, a 5-round main event.
Yeah.
So I'm prepared to go 25 minutes hard. And even after the last time I got to headline a main event and go 25 minutes, like I didn't know how my body would handle that. I didn't know like how hard I could go, and I learned a lot. There was a lot of things I took away from that fight, and I definitely learned that I could have went a little harder, in some of those rounds, and could have won some of those rounds. So, I just want to go out there, and I'm prepared to go 25 minutes, but I wouldn't be surprised if I finish him with a punch or kick or choke or armbar. Like I'm prepared anywhere the fight goes, and it would just be exciting to get it done against a legend like the Zombie, especially like him going to a decision with Ortega, who's fighting for the belt now. If I can go out there and one up that performance and make a statement for myself.
Absolutely. And then I think he's ranked number 4 right now. So, I mean, that obviously puts you in the top 5. So it's a big fight for you in the rankings.
Yeah.
I like what you said as far as, a lot of people think that fighters automatically from the beginning of their career know everything they're good at and where they're confident and where they're strengths are. But what people don't realize is we're just like everybody else. And like when I was coming up, I was very, I had to be confident. I had to be confident in my interviews. I'm going to knock him out. I'm going to do this. I can go 25 minutes. I can do all this. I mean, you're obviously way far ahead than I was at that point. But what my point is that we have to learn just as well as everyone else. Like, through fighting, we have to test ourselves. You've had a lot of amateur fights and a lot of pro fights to test yourself. So people don't realize we get to the stage we're at later on, like where you're at right now in your career, because you've learned from your performances. Like you've learned that you can take punches and you don't have like a weak jaw. You've learned that you can go the distance and fight hard for 15 minutes or 25 minutes. You've learned that you can do good on the ground and submit people that are really good. You've learned that, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's a big misconception that people have, is they think fighters just automatically know this from the beginning, but it's a learning process for us. Like there's been so many fights where I've been done with the fight in my UFC career and I was like, holy shit, I can do that, and everyone else thought I could do that before, and they were confident that was like my thing, but it's like I wasn't confident until I went out there and actually did it, good or bad.
Right. No, that's total. I was literally talking about that yesterday with my coach, and it's like you almost got to put on that like fake confidence, like because you're not sure of it. You don't know, like you think you can do it, and you have to believe it, because if you have a little bit of doubt, like that's not good.
Nah, absolutely.
And going into the Cater fight, like I had 4 weeks of preparation, and it's like you question yourself, but then the cameras are in your face. They're like, hey, hype up the fight, do this, do that. And like, I have to be confident. I have to be tough. And, I did learn a lot from that. I did learn I can go 5 rounds with a tough ass dude. I did learn that, I didn't get blown out of the water. Like I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I was durable. Like everything you said, these things you just learn along the way, and every single fight has made me into the fighter I am today. Like literally from my amateur debut to now, like every fight I've picked up something from a win or a loss. They say lose and learn, or win. I'd rather win and learn, but I try to pick up something every fight. And for me, going into this fight, I just really feel like, I guess let me retract a little bit, but my whole entire UFC career was just a fast track. Like I was in camp, taking fight after fight after fight, and I never really did have the opportunity to grow until I fell short to Cater. And then I said to myself, like, I'm actually going to take some time to grow as a fighter and like work on everything, because that's not something I really got to do. I was just constantly grinding, and they say in camp you don't really get better. Like I feel like I got better because I went through all these fights and I got experience and I got better, but I didn't truly like develop my skills. So that's all I've been doing for the past pretty much 1 year almost. And it's kind of cool because I didn't get to show anything in my last fight, so it's still a mystery.
Yeah. No, and I think that's where people's prime comes in. Like you talk about people's prime when they get to their prime. I think that's a mixture of their age and experience catching up to them, to where, and that confidence that we talked about, where you see guys like the Anderson Silvas and your greats, like even, you're all guys from my team. I'm biased with my own teammates, but you see these guys that get in these runs where they're like, 10 fights. You've had big streaks too, but 10, 15 fights, and they seem unbeatable, untouchable. Your Fedors, your Anderson Anderson Silva's, your, John Jones as well. And then they get to that point where they, or just seem unbeatable. And I think that's where they've gained that confidence. That's where they've realized that what they can do.
Totally.
And then that confidence, when you come in there with that confidence, and it's not a question as much anymore as it is that that you can do these things, that helps elevate your game to a whole different level and give you an advantage over somebody who doesn't have that confidence yet, and they're still walking in with those questions. And then all of a sudden, they seem unbeatable, and they're in their prime, and they're destroying everyone. In reality, they've just found their space. They found what they're good at and how they can do it ahead of the person that they're fighting or the people that they're fighting, and they're able to put those wins together until they kind of get out of their prime, and then younger guys come up and start nipping at their heels and doing the same thing, kind of.
Yeah, and that's how I pretty much feel. Like I feel like I'm 29 years old, and I'm really just everything's finally clicking, and the confidence is there. It's not a false confidence. Like I 100% believe in my ability and my skills. I believe in my approach to the fight. I take everything super serious, like as far as my training and training smart and using science. And I train really hard, but like there's a time and place to train hard and train smart. So I feel like I'm taking a really smart approach, but I'm getting the maximum potential out of myself. And I treat myself like a champion. I live like a champion. I try to hold myself like a champion. Although I don't hold a belt around my waist, I'm starting to try to walk like a champion, if that makes sense, and do everything I can in my power to make myself better. Like I was thinking to myself kind of before this camp, like if I was a champ, what would I be doing? Because if I was a champ financially, I would be able to do what I want to make myself better, whether it's investing in saunas, ice baths, hiring external coaches, and a bigger coaching staff that can support me. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm making that investment in myself now.
Nice.
And I feel like I'm just really taking things to the next level as far as my training and my strength and conditioning and everything, and surrounding my camp around me and building everything around me. I still go to team practices and whatnot, but like I'm building this camp around myself. Right. And I'm confident. I feel great. I'm physically the best. I feel the best I've ever felt, and mentally and spiritually and just everywhere. Everything's on point, and I really don't. A fight's a fight, but I really don't see myself losing.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, man. And to be honest, another fun fact is that's my birthday, man, June 19th. So I'll be 42, and I think. Shit. I hope I'm right. It sounds old, man. Hope I'm wrong, actually. Hopefully I messed up somewhere along the years and I'm 41. But so it's like, man, that's my birthday, June 19th. And I'll be watching on my birthday. All right, fellas, you want to help the podcast? Here is your opportunity. You can save 20% now and get free shipping on the best below-the-waist men's grooming products on the market by going to manscaped.com, manscaped.com today. Use code QUICK. That's my nickname, not how you use the product. And you get 20% off, free shipping. It's a win-win for everyone. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels, and now they're available in Europe, Canada, and Australia. And yes, I actually use these products. I'm getting more shipped right now. I got the Manscaped bag here, got the preserver, got the reviver, the crop mop, a whole bag of crop mops, and they even give you this. So you can actually use Manscaped to manscape your eyebrows and your toes. It's like the best. It is everything you need to appeal to your lady friend. So don't thank me. Thank yourself for going to manscaped.com, entering code QUICK, and getting your order at 20% off discount and free shipping. What is your training camp like right now for this fight? Like you're just your training schedule throughout the week, and as you approach a fight, like what is your regimen?
So pretty much every fight camp, I really just focus on getting on the best condition as possible, and because that's the scariest thing is to be in a fight and be tired with someone trying to knock you out. So I never want to experience that, and I try to get in the best possible shape. And so I put a lot a lot of emphasis on my physical training, my strength and conditioning. I've actually been with the UFC PI a little bit, but I went ahead and actually hired Project Wellbeing, my friend Sean Freitas. He's been my work guy. He's been working on me for the past 2 years. I used to see him once a week, and he would just like stretch me and massage and whatnot. But he does like full-time strength and conditioning too, and he trains a lot of different athletes, football players, golfers, baseball players, hockey players. So he's kind of got an open mind, and like we took the approach of like the periodization cycle of like what the UFC PI and their study and everything provides, and like I've just been working with him 3 days a week, and then like he works on me and stretches me after. So like I'm maximizing pretty much that full recovery. So I feel great every session. You know, I'm not like worn down and tired. Whereas before I was like training and then or sparring and then doing strength and conditioning and then like, but I wouldn't be 100%. So we kind of got to dial it in to where my like everything's I don't know. I just kind of found that priority, I guess. And
Yeah.
I know I've scheduled my training perfectly and everything's spaced out to where I have that maximum recovery time, but then I can go into practice and give it my maximum effort. And I think that's super important. And I've been sparring maybe once a week. I've kind of like, I feel like I'm matured enough to like, I know how to fight and I don't have to spar crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm sparring once a week, and I got these 2 Mexican kids. And like, if you want to talk about zombies, like these guys are real zombies, and they freaking push me. So I've been going hard. Like, they've been pushing me. Yeah, Brian Zurcher and Pato, like they've been pushing me hard, and I've been getting at least 5 rounds in of like hard sparring. MMA gloves. I don't use 16-ounce gloves anymore, but like we just get after, and we get our sparring in once a week, and then every other practice is just more technical, you know, towards my opponent and what I'm gonna do. Even in the sparring, it's like that, but you know, sparring. So, I don't know, man. I just feel on point. And the we've been doing Sicko Saturdays, like fight simulations, a lot of up down training, bands, shots across the mat. Like we got the ground and pound dummy, a lot of ground and pound conditioning because, you know, guys like Khabib and stuff, they incorporate a lot of that in their training and the bike and whatnot. So we've been getting after it, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for the training, I've been getting that a lot with a lot of guys. You know, like they're training smarter now, not sparring all the time. Like at AKA, we had to learn. You know, we're the last remaining like kind of super gym when super gyms kind of started. You know, we had Militich, we had you know, some of the old Lions Den, Militich, and then there was AKA, and we're the only ones kind of left. So we've been around for a long time. And coming out of those days, it was like just hard. It was fighting every day, like that. You know, it's like you want to be a fighter, you got to fight. And so we just fought 3 days a week, hard as we could. You know, guys were getting knocked out in the gym, and it was tough, man. And I'm still like suffering the pains in my body because of those tough sessions and those years and years of hard work. And it seems like a lot of guys are getting a lot smarter now and sparring less and training harder for cardio and keeping their body healthy and stuff. And that's really good. What is your fight weeks like? Like everyone's a little different, which is why I like to ask different fighters so that people that follow them can know what their fight weeks are like. Like, do you use that week to like rest and recovery more than anything, or do you train kind of hard still that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or how is it for you?
It's honestly, my fight weeks are really mellow. So like I kind of start my taper depending on how my camp's going and how my body's doing. Like I'll start a taper 10 to 14 days out, like, and start decreasing the volume, but like I'll keep the intensity up. And then going into fight week, it's pretty much like, you know, the work is done. And so I maybe hit pads once a week or twice. Like I don't really do too much. Honestly, I'm just letting my body completely recover, and maybe I'll do other things. Like I'll go outside and just go walk in the sunshine and let my body repair and like just soak up the natural vitamin D and kind of do other things and take my mind off it a little bit. And then we do the weight cut and then fight. I mean, I do a little shakeout fight day, but pretty much, like the work, by the time fight week comes around, like if you're not like 100% ready, like I don't know. I see guys that train all the way up to fight, like all the way up to like Thursday night. They're training hard, and
I've seen them too.
I don't know. Some guys do that, and it works for them. But I don't know. It's not me.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen the guys do the same thing. I don't train a lot during fight week either, never have. And I've seen those guys that just kill it all week. And I'm just like, golly, that's crazy. Like, to me, it's like, the thing is, I think people are terrified they're going to lose something
Yeah.
in a week. But if you put in hard work for 3 months, you're not going to lose anything, even if you do nothing except rest for a week. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be stiff, and you want to move around a little and obviously stay loose,
Yeah.
and keep your timing. But aside from that, you're not going to lose your cardio. You're not going to lose your training. So it's like, I think that's
No,
the
you
right
won't.
approach is recover and let your body recover, because I've walked out before and my legs were numb and I felt pain in my body where I shouldn't have, because I wasn't recovered. And that's an insecurity when you're walking out to a fight and you're warming up backstage,
Yeah.
and you feel some, like, some sore muscles and stuff, and you're just like, holy shit, I'm about to go fight and I'm actually sore. That's not a good thing. And so then that starts playing on your head,
No, yeah.
and you start getting insecure, and like, that's something you definitely don't want before a fight, so I totally agree with you on that fight week.
Even like some of my best sparring sessions are like after a fight, you're not in camp, you've been chilling, eating whatever, and then like you just show up to the gym one day and like I'm gonna just have some fun and spar. And like those are some of my best days. Like I haven't been training and my body feels good and it's fully recovered, it's fed. Like, so I don't know. That's kind of the approach I take, I guess, for fight week. But you gotta just kind of have that belief, like the training, the years and years of training we put in over, like, that doesn't go away. It just like you got to just kind of believe that, and it's pretty easy to pick back up.
And then I know Khabib's a teammate of mine, and I know a lot about him from training. I was in the end of my career when he was coming in, and so we trained very little together because I was in Thailand building AKA Thailand and everything at the time that he was coming in and kind of starting out his UFC career and stuff. But I know you've trained a lot with him as well.
Yeah.
I know at one point he wanted you to lower your weight, and you didn't. You went on a 6-fight win streak, and y'all have had a lot of training sessions together. You've taken a lot from him. You probably know him a lot better than I do as far as from a training aspect, and obviously, what are some things you can say about Khabib, and then what would you say separates him the most? Like, if you had one thing to say that separates him the most from every other fighter that could lead to kind of why he's had the success that he's had, what would you say that is?
See, I mean, I love Khabib, and see, he's crazy because he's one of those guys that trains every single day. In
Yeah,
fight
of course.
Week. Like he'll grapple in the morning and run at night. Like on fight week, grapple in the morning, run at night, all the way up to Thursday, and then he does his weight cutting, cuts a crazy amount of weight, and then he's 29-0 and just dominates everyone. So I don't know, maybe I don't know, but he's a solid guy and just a mentally strong human being, and he is a guy that never changed from the first time I met him. And no one really, I mean, they knew him, but he wasn't the star he is today. And like he was just kind of on the come up. I think it was like right after he beat RDA, and like he started like becoming like, oh, who's this guy? Like, who's Khabib? And like he was still like this young humble kid from Dagestan, and I got to kind of be around him in some of his camps, and all the way up to when he won the title against Ally Aquina, and then when he fought Conor, when he fought Dustin Poirier, like Justin Gaethje, like all those fights, I got to kind of be around him. And no matter how much money or fame this guy got, like he always remained the same. And I think that's super important too, because it's easy to let the fame and the stardom and the money and like the attraction kind of get to your head. And then you start thinking you're bigger than you really are. And that's something he never did. So, and there's something I guess I take away from him, just kind of being around him and like being around other champions as well, and like seeing how, the guys like Kamaru Usman's and Henry Cejudo's, and Cejudo's a little crazy, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. These guys, like they're humble. They're humble kids, and you get the belt, but you got to kind of remain that way. And I think that will take you farther than the McGregor route. The McGregor made a lot of money, and I can't hate on him, but it's also been his downfall, and he hasn't looked so great in his last 4 or 5 fights. So I mean, against Cerrone, he did all right, but you know what I mean.
Your legacy means a lot to certain people, you know what I mean? And like, obviously the legacy of Khabib and the legacy of Conor is slightly different, and what they're going to be remembered for outside of the octagon. But then again, you got Conor being on the Forbes list #1. So it's like, it's a trade-off, I guess. You can sell your soul kind of, I guess you can say. And it's what's important to you. So what would you say would be the one thing, if you had to narrow it down, that made Khabib so flawless throughout his his whole career. I mean, he's shown up sick before. He's shown up injured before. We know what happened in Abu Dhabi before the Gaethje fight. We all know now. We didn't, it wasn't known before, but all the stuff he went through and the lack of training and the injuries and all that kind of stuff. What do you think it is that got him through all those fights flawlessly the most, like the most important thing that he has that really kind of like leveled out everything, no matter what he faced, what adversary he faced before each of those fights, he still came out ahead and he still looked good every single time? Is it just that mindset, you think?
It is the mindset, and it's just, he's a workhorse, like I guarantee even today, even though he's retired, he trains every single day, and I don't think the guy's ever missed a day of training. Like, he will show up to the gym every single day, and he's humble, and he works, and he shows up early, and he stays after practice, and he stretches, and he does extra, and he does push-ups after practice, and does crunches after practice, and he gets everyone involved. Like, he's developed that, like, he's like a leader, and like, because he's a leader, he has to hold himself accountable, and for the younger guys, and I think that's what kind of made him successful, because he has to be the guy that shows up early. He has to be the guy that never misses a practice, because he's got future generations looking up to him that want to be the future Khabibs. There's tons of Khabibs out there, like there really is. And like these kids from Dagestan and that literally just come from nothing, like they're killers, dude. They really are. And I think it's his work ethic and just the accountability that's what made him great.
I think you're right, man. And I'm very fortunate to be a member, like a founding member of AKA, and been there since the beginning. So I've seen so many of these guys come in, like Khabib and Kane and DC and a lot of these, Luke, all these guys come in from day one and then turn into these huge stars. And I got to see that progress, and it's cool looking back, seeing every step of the way. And like Khabib came in, and it was like he came in from Dagestan, didn't have anything, and him and his family and his friends that he trained with were all staying in the hotel behind the gym, and they just showed up for training. They had nothing, man. They were just showing up every day, and it's the same Khabib when you talk to him now as that you talk to him then, except he's just a superstar. He's the most famous Russian dialect guy on the planet, and definitely athlete. And it's cool to see that, man, and it means a lot, to have been there for that.
What's up, everybody? I am here in Thailand. This is the first time I've ever been here. Been dying to come here for years. Mike Swick, he's one of the big reasons he's been trying to pull me down here. What he built down here, AKA Thailand, is incredible. There's people here from all over the world. You can train mixed martial arts here, jiu-jitsu. They have weightlifting, they have cardio, and obviously they have Muay Thai, boxing, everything. I'm telling you guys, I know everybody wants to go to Thailand because Thailand's so cool, but you can't come to Thailand without coming to AKA Thailand. Come on.
You got started when you were like 20 or 21, correct? Like around that age, as far as fighting MMA, like amateur?
Yeah. Because I wrestled 2 years in high school, did some judo, and then I wrestled 2 years in college, and then I started my MMA career after my second year of college in summer. So it was 2011. I had my first amateur fight. So what is that? 10 years ago.
91. You were born in 91, 19, right? So 91, 2011. So you're like 21, I think, something like that. 21, I think. If I
something like yeah.
So
it's crazy.
And then what was the big what got you into fighting? So you wrestled, and then like what was that transition where you were just like, you know what, I'm gonna start punching people now instead of just wrestling them? And then what was the difference of just training and fighting, and then actually saying, you know what, I'm gonna be a fighter, and I'm gonna take this as a career?
It's like I kind of almost got into it like as a joke. Like I was doing jiu-jitsu tournaments and stuff, and I was pretty competitive, and my second year actually coming back from college, like my wife, or girlfriend at the time, my wife now, like her brothers were all MMA fighters and stuff. So I was hanging out with her a lot, and then hanging out with their brothers. So I started going to train with them, and they were the ones always telling me like, oh, take a fight, take a fight. So I ended up taking a fight, and I had my first amateur fight against a guy, Micah Ige. He had the same last name as me. It wasn't
Oh,
related
wow.
at all, but he had like, he was kind of a can, I guess you could say. He had like 40 amateur fights and probably lost half of them, one half, lost half, but still 40 amateur fights, and I didn't
Yeah.
have any experience. But yeah, I beat him in the first round, TKO'd him with like body shots, and like I had zero striking whatsoever. I just had kind of athleticism, and yeah, I beat him, and I think it was just the feeling like it was a feeling I never got from winning any other
Yeah.
competition. Like I never got that from wrestling, never got that from jiu-jitsu, and I kind of fell in love with that, I guess. So I made a decision like, let's try this out. I ended up doing 11. I had 11 amateur fights, and in Hawaii they're almost like pro fights, because like everyone can fight pretty good over there. Like everyone's like a good stand-up fighter, and I had no stand-up, so I kind of learned as I went. Had a decent amateur career. I think I went 9-2. Lost lost like a decision. I got armbarred once. I fought at 170. I got armbarred, and
Oh, no.
then I turned pro in 2014, and literally like I was just learning as I go. I never really had like a mitt man or nothing. Like I
Yeah.
just kind of learned as I went. And then when I lost my first pro fight, I fought this Japanese guy, and I was 2-0, and he was like 9-3, and it's just like, I don't know, it was stupid matchmaking, and I didn't have a manager or anything, so I was just like, I felt invincible because I was 2-0. So I kind of, and it was like Hawaii versus Japan, so I was like pretty prideful, and I ended up losing a split decision. And but it was at that moment like I realized like, if I'm gonna do this, I kind of got to go all in. So I ended up making the move out here to Vegas, and then once I came here, kind of everything else just fell into place. Like I found a great team at Extreme Couture. I met Ali, so I got to meet all these other guys like Khabib and Frankie, and it's just like they kind of molded me to who I am today. Just being around guys like that and being around champions, and seeing I did work as a manager for a while, and you kind of see the backside of things, and you see what matchmakers are looking for and the company's looking for, and like, so it kind of just molded me into the fighter I am today. And yeah, man, I don't regret anything, and I'm in a great place now, and it's crazy just coming. Literally moved here with $27. Now it's like, now here I am, top 10 in the world, and I own a house, and I'm just super grateful and fortunate.
That's awesome, man. And I know you're dominance. I've had a lot of the dominance guys on the podcast, including Ali himself, was a guest on my podcast as well. How is it juggling that being such a big job and fighting at the same time? Because I know for me, like maybe because I was overtraining, but I was so exhausted between training rounds. I was just trying to sleep, and then until I could finally get into business
Yeah.
and have more time to dedicate to business, because I knew obviously post career is what's going to be carrying me through the rest of my life. But how hard is it being that you're a top, possibly soon a top 5 fighter, and then also having the responsibilities of a big job like that as well, and balancing it? How are you handling that?
Yeah. The beginning was really hard because I didn't have a balance, and maybe I'd put too much emphasis into working, or I put too much into training where I was drained and I couldn't work, or vice versa. And it was really about finding that balance. And I've taken a little step back now. Like I still I have some responsibilities, but now I have a kid, so that's just another thing to balance. And but it was all about finding the balance, because I feel like if you're just kind of like too delved into one thing, even if I was 100% into fighting, I didn't have any other job, like it's easy to burn out.
Yeah.
So it was almost nice, like having that little pendulum effect. Like I had a balance, and I found the balance. And when I wasn't fighting, I could do a little work, and when I wasn't working, I could focus on my family, and then just kind of had that triangle effect. And I don't know. It all worked out somehow, some way. I feel like I didn't take the easy route. Like even coming up in my career before I moved to Vegas, I was working construction, and like that was hard. But I've said this was harder because it's mentally
Right.
taxing. Like I'm always physical. I can go there and like not have to think and shovel for days and then go train. Like I can do that. It's hard. It sucks. But like when you mentally tax yourself and then go to train, like it's way harder. So I don't know. I felt like going through all that coming up in my career and even in my UFC career, kind of like if that was hard, like the fight was easy. That's kind of how I looked at it. Like the
Yeah.
fight was my escape. Like that's my freedom where I can actually go in the cage, and even though I got another man trying to knock me out, like it's literally my freedom. So I don't know. It's finding the balance, but I have went into fights where I was totally drained, and like I still won the fights, but I was just mentally drained and physically drained because I put too much emphasis into one or the other.
Yeah, that's the big question is like how much emphasis. And like I commend you on that because like for me, the same thing, like once I got my training to where it was proper and I had time, I put it all into business. I mean, I was reading business books, learning about business, starting businesses. Midway through my UFC career, I started getting into business. And like, so you see a lot of guys that like once they start getting that time, they play video games or they do things to take their mind off fighting, as far as they watch movies, they play video games, they go do fun things, but they don't realize that like those things aren't going to help you at the end of your career. And I think the step you're taking and that I took was smart in the fact that like, when you can put that time, because people, the misconception is people think fighters don't have time. We do have time when you're training hard and proper, because you can't train that hard all the time. You do have downtime, and you got to get your mind off fighting, and you have to keep busy. And when you can do that toward business, that's something that's going to help you outside of fighting when you're done. And that's going to put you ahead of everybody who's going to be stuck when they're done fighting and they played video games or did other stuff. And then they're just like, oh shit, what do I do next? I'm, 40 years old and I got to start over. And there's like, 20 and 30 year olds that are all educated and been to college and been training in these different, career modes this whole time that I had to compete with. So I commend you on that. And I was just curious how tough it was and how the balance you have is right now. And it sounds like you got it all under control and you're doing good. So is this what you want to do? Like after fighting, like you want to be a manager? Is that what you would say is your goal when fighting is over and you have like another job and you're not fighting and actually competing?
I think so. I mean, it was something I didn't dream of that before, and it wasn't like a goal or even a thought when I moved to Vegas. I didn't know, but like having the knowledge I have now, definitely. I mean, I feel like I could be one of the best managers in the world if I wanted to be. I just right now my main focus is, gaining a championship.
Absolutely.
But I have all the tools if I ever want to, fall back on that. I definitely can, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for everything I've learned from Ali. He's taught me so much, just kind of the business side of things and negotiations and relationships with fighters. And like, I think that's key as a manager, is having a relationship with every fighter you manage, because you can have 100 fighters, but if you don't have like they're not going to respect you. So gaining respect for your fighters by having a relationship is key, and it'll carry far. Like not just even a relationship with the fighter, but I want to know the fighter's mom and dad. Like I want to wish them happy birthday. I think that means a lot, like more than like, hey, you got to fight. Now I'm be like, hey man, how's your mom? How's your dad doing? I tell him happy birthday or whatever, I think that's really important as a manager, rather than just pick up the phone and say, hey, you want to fight? All right, let's not hear back from you till after the fight. All right, hey, here's the invoice. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think that's key, and I think Ollie's really good at that, and something I would take into account if I were to ever manage guys is just like having that relationship with them, having the rate, and just like having a bond and having a family. Like Ali created dominance, like it's a family bond, and even guys might fight each other, for the title or the number one contender, but like it's still a family bond at the end of the day, and I think that's pretty cool. And he's doing a good thing over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, it's tough to get a fighter's respect, and like it's a tough thing to do. And I think you being a top tier fighter is a huge help for that, because fighters respect fighters. So I think that's really going for you in this endeavor, because that's great, man. I love it. I love it. You have everything, bro. You're a top tier fighter. You got business accolades. You're staying busy. You're doing great, man. It's fantastic. I'm pumped about it.
Thank you.
I'm pumped to see how your career goes and how well you do in this fight and keep going up the ranks. So you haven't been to Thailand, correct?
No, I haven't. I mean, it's always been on my bucket list. It's a place I got to go one day, but I would definitely love to come one day. Check you guys out.
Yeah, man, you have an open invitation to come train with us, and I'll show you the islands and show you the cool attributes of Phuket. So anytime you're ready, man, just hit me up.
Sick.
and we'll take care of everything else
Appreciate it.
and get you here and show you a great time.
Heck yeah, you're the man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on the show, man, taking the time out. I really want to talk to you, and I'm looking forward to your fight. I'm excited as a fan. Now I got to know you a lot more as a person, and I'm even more pumped. I think you're a great guy, and you got a lot going for you, and it seems like you got everything in line for this fight. So I'm super excited for you. I'll be watching on my birthday here in Thailand.
Heck yeah.
Rooting you on, brother. So
Be a good birthday for you.
yeah, absolutely, dude. So thanks for being on the show, man. I really appreciate it, and good luck with your training camp, and good luck with your fight.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me, and yeah, we'll definitely we'll talk soon. We'll talk after the fight.
All right, brother. Talk soon, man.
Take care. Thank you, Mike.
Real quick with Mike Swick.